aid. And yeah, nice. All right, we can watch the Andrew response here. So right away, a lot of people have pointed something out that they're not a huge fan of. Andrew posted his response on his channel, which at the time of his posting only had 600 subs. So a lot of people thought that this was kind of scummy to try and like post this in a place where most people like in his main audience wouldn't see it. I'm a little conflicted. I don't know how I fully feel on it because I get why he wouldn't post it on his main channel, even like optics aside. It's because his channel, like a lot of people aren't there for him. They're there for like the people he interviews. Like he is the face of it, but he's also not the personality driving it either. So maybe it'd feel like out of place or something, but clearly the main reason that someone wouldn't post it there is because he doesn't want the main audience to know it. Like to take some level of accountability, but also not let his audience know about the allegations. So I'm kind of split on where I feel there because he's just not the personality behind Channel 5. Did he post it on his Instagram? Because I didn't see it there. Exactly. The main channel's more of a show than a personal one, but I think it would have been in good taste to like fully take it on the chin in front of like the people that supported you the most. So he did post it on his Instagram and linked the video. Okay.
All right. I never thought I'd make a video like this, but I think there's an important conversation to be had, and I just want to be fully accountable, honest, and transparent with all of you guys. So I'd like to start by thanking every single person who's came out in the past week to speak about different ways in which my behavior has made them feel uncomfortable or pressured during a sexual situation, and to people who said that I've made unwanted advances and had a hard time with rejection. I'm sure this was not easy to do. It's never easy to speak out, and it was hard for me to hear as well because, to be honest with you, up until this point, I didn't even really realize that I had this pattern.
I've turned it up as far as that'll go. It's just really kind of quiet. I mean, he's recording in a hotel room clearly, so it's not the best quality. This is Andrew of Channel 5. I'm sure all of you know Channel 5, formerly All Gas No Breaks. He's got the HBO documentary out, the This Place Rules. I have sung his praises for years. I think the content he has made is some of the best when it comes to like journalism. It's extremely entertaining, usually even pretty insightful in some cases, and just downright interesting. So when all of the allegations about his like pattern of sexual misconduct that ranges from potential assault, harassment, the inability to handle rejection, this kind of shit that stems back years. Once all of that came out, that hurt to see. That really fucking hurt to see. So this is his response to all of it. I haven't watched it yet. I haven't really seen too many people talking about it yet, so I don't know if it's like a good response so far. I'd say like that's a pretty strong start. Immediately addressing the victims and like how difficult it is to come out about something like this, because as much as people like to deny it, it is hard to come out about something like that because all you do is get shit on by the fans of the person that you're talking about. Everyone likes to say that it's a clout driven move, but the only thing that happens is you get shit on forever. Like literally forever. You gain nothing. You just get shit on endlessly. Thanks to the 5 gift subs, Maple. The resub Equestrian, Orphan, and the Tier 1 Happy.
That had affected multiple people. I'd also like to apologize for my silence. I think that when this stuff first came out, I was in a state of denial and shock. I was, just riding the high from my movie that just came out, and then within 48 hours, I was denounced by my closest collaborators, and my name was printed in 40 different news outlets next to the words sexual misconduct, and I just kind of spiraled into a mental health crisis. I'm okay now, but I don't really think this is about me. This is about the people that I've affected, so I just want to express my complete sympathy, respect, and support for anyone who I've done wrong by, and I really want to do better and be fully accountable for everything that I've done. So that being said, I want to make a few things clear. I've always taken no for an answer. As far as consent, I've never overstepped that line. Um, but I think I want to have a more nuanced and important conversation about power dynamics, pressure, and coercion. Because like I said, I think for a long time, I was behaving in a way that I actually thought was normal. I thought that going home from the bar alone made you a loser. I thought that persistence was a form of flattery, and I thought that if at first somebody was reluctant, they're playing hard to get. Just try harder, and if you think someone's feeling you, make a physical advance. And
Oof. Yeah, that is a pit right there. That is like some old Reddit shit. I think that one of the worst things you can do is be like creepily persistent about things. Eek. Oof. Thanks to the resub. Daddy in the Prime. Nope. I mean, he seems like he's being very honest about this. He was one of those creepy guys about like can't go home alone. I gonna be extremely persistent, and then if you get the idea that they're into it, you start getting like touchy with it. All of which is terrible advice that I remember back in the day Reddit used to kind of preach back when pickup artists used to astroturf some of the big subs. And then you just fall into a situation like this here. Yikes. Thanks to tier 1, ka-chow. The Prime flight used to be normal behavior. It never really was, though. Even when I was in college, which is, and this is upsetting to think about, which was over 6 years ago now, even back then, no one, or at least none of my friends, were like that, and actively made fun of dudes that were. So it really was just kind of this thing that started on the internet, and like lived there, and I guess some people grew up thinking that it was normal. Because I never saw that in the real world. At least not with my group, or anyone that I knew. Thanks to the Prime Shogun and the resub Boyd. You see it in the real world if you take a look and listen. Oh, I'm not doubting that it exists. What I'm saying is it wasn't like normal, at least never from what I saw. Like I said, we used to make fun of those people. Even my friends who were in frats used to make fun of dudes that did that. And again, this was over 6 years ago now. Well, actually, it's 7 now, since it's 2023. So I really just feel like it just kind of blossomed from the whole, like, terminally online shit of people thinking that it must be normal or a good idea. But you admitted being super cringe in college? Not this kind of cringe. What are you talking about? And that was my freshman year when I was a mysterious anime character. My cringe was from the refusal to speak to people and being like genuinely weird and uncomfortable to be around. Thanks to Prime Weed. And my friends certainly weren't cringe. I was just me. I had to learn from them. I had to suckle on their bosom to learn how like socialization worked. Thanks to the bits aid.
See if they go with it. And I think that, especially I realized when so many young people, especially young men, rushed to defend me when this stuff first started coming out, that this type of sex pest behavior is normalized. And a lot of people think this stuff is normal when I don't think that it is. And I think that I want to be fully responsible for
maybe I'm in a
not
bubble. I've just never seen it as
fluid
normalized.
understanding of consent.
Those
and
people
what
always get made fun
enthusiastic
of.
two-way consent looks like. That being said, a lot of the things that have been said online about me are not true. A lot of things are missing really important contextual information that I think would change people's interpretation of a lot of these situations, but I'm not here to invalidate anybody's lived experience. If you feel pressured, that's just what it is. I hope that young people and young men in particular can use my mistakes to learn and move through life with a better understanding of consent. As far as what I have planned, I'm not really sure what comes next. I mean, obviously, reporting is my one true love, and I'm 25 years old, and I have my whole life ahead of me. but I really think that I need to do some serious work on myself and figure myself out. So I'm going to start therapy sessions pretty much immediately. Also, not to blame alcohol, but I truly believe that alcohol was a contributing factor to my poor decision making. And I think that alcohol in general has had a devastating impact on my life. So I think I'm going to make the decision to join the 12-step program for Alcoholics Anonymous. And during this journey into sobriety, I want to take a serious step back from public life. And like I said, figure myself out. And I hope that this reaches the ears of anyone who's felt affected by me. I'd love to reach out to you, or you can reach out to me, even just for me to say, I'm sorry. And I really apologize, and I appreciate you all. I also want to apologize to my closest collaborators, my friends, my family, and people who will have to wear this stain on their career forever. You guys don't deserve this, and I love you guys. That being said, if you never want to watch Channel 5 again, I understand. I hope you remember the missions of radical empathy and media literacy that we have tried to put into the world through our coverage. All right, that's all I want to say.
Wow. Well, as far as responses go, he actually did pretty much everything you're supposed to do. That was like an actually pretty mature response to the whole situation. One of the main things that most apologies never do is say the most basic thing of, I'm sorry. He seemed to have taken accountability for all that. He pointed out the victims and, like, he didn't do anything to belittle their experience, invalidate it, or anything. He took all of it, accepted all of it, and then even talked about what he's going to do to change. As far as apologies go, that's about as good as that gets, especially in something as serious as this. But it's entirely on the victims if this is an apology that they can accept. As far as the public reception goes, I am curious to see how the public responds to it. Thanks to Prime Matt and the resub, Pimp and Heater, and Tommy and Wilfer, and Yeet. Scroll down. Oh, well, YouTube comments aren't a good barometer, but we'll see. So far, all the comments are at least seeming to be forgiving. Download the plugin to see dislikes. I never feel like doing that. I just don't care enough. Chat usually tells me anyway. What's the likes to dislikes on it? This isn't a forgivable offense, to be honest. Yeah, sex crimes are usually something that I don't usually see people move on from. I don't really know how you don't get the lesson like the first time. .343 dislikes to 3.7k likes. He's a tier 1 rogue in the resub Ghost and Prime Smack. What crimes did he commit? I'm just saying in general. I think the big thing he was accused of, at least from most of the allegations I saw, was this inability to accept rejection. So one of the big ones that came out with the pictures and the texts is the girl who repeatedly kept telling him no, she doesn't want to. And then apparently she finally relented just to get him off of her. So to me, that's a big line that I feel most people would know is a line in the first place. Like, that's not just like, I was young, naive, and, I didn't know this. That's just one of those things where it's like, I think everyone knows that. Lol, that's it. It's so weird. What do you mean that's it? You keep talking about fucking this girl like, we're gonna fuck. You need to fuck me. It's time to fuck. We're gonna have sex. And she just keeps telling you no, 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 and then you climb on top of her, and then she's fine like, oh, Jesus Christ, okay, fine. Like, panicked and just tells you yes eventually, and you're like, score. She wanted it. What do you mean? You're just a weirdo. Proof the proof? He's here talking about it. What do you mean? Proof the proof. He's here literally talking about that. At no point did he say none of these things are true. He didn't invalidate it at all. He took all of it. He didn't say any of it's not true. Or like, here, this, I actually never met this woman. This is all a blatant lie. I would never do this. He's even talking about it in a moment of self-reflection on how he thought these things were normal and like an okay behavior. And now he's realized they are not okay. Like, he is literally admitting it, talking about it, and you're still saying, what proof? The guy who's been accused is saying it's true. He did at one point say there's some untrue stuff. He said there's some missing context to some of it. The way I interpreted that is like the closeness of the relationship. That's how I took it, because some of them came out like they seemed to be friends, so maybe there was more to it, like like it wasn't just a stranger. That's what I understood. To me, that didn't come across as him belittling it. Maybe I'm being a little more generous with my interpretation since since I do like Channel Five's work. But that's how I took it, as like this in this case, this wasn't a stranger that I was pestering. This was a friend, so I thought we had a closer relationship where, like, we were kind of joking with each other about it. I didn't know it came across this way. That's how I understood it. Is the resub dinero Korean and the prime heroin? Bits West. Is the resub Travis? Oh, he's not saying it's acceptable behavior. That's what the whole video is about. At the time, he thought it was acceptable behavior, which he said, and he's saying now it's absolutely not. He's not, like, making an excuse for it. At least not that I picked up on it. It didn't come across that way to me. Is the resub interloper? Is the resub Kudaris? He pestered them. He never got on top of a girl after. No, please clarify. Her statement was that she eventually consented just to get him off of her. Which to me sounded like the way that it read, or the way that it sounded, he was on top of her. Maybe she meant it more figuratively instead of literally, perhaps. But regardless, even still, after like 1,000 no's and then finally just saying yes to get out of the situation, it's not much better. Why did this only come out after his big movie? So it didn't. That's the crazy thing. It never picked up steam until one of the more recent, the most recent with the girl on TikTok. There's tweets dating all the way back to 2020, and there's posts on Instagram dating back to, I think, 2018 of local people not even knowing who this guy was, but saying like, hey, warning, This guy who goes around in a van is a big weirdo. He's creepy. He does like weird sexual stuff. Please be careful when you're going out to bars tonight. Like that's existed for a long time. It just never got steam. Where was that? It was in the big Twitter thread that had all of it. They had the old Instagram posts on there. I think it was 2018. I could be getting the timeline wrong. Maybe it was early 2020. Some of the tweets were 2020 and the Instagram posts I thought were 2018, but I'm going off memory now, and it's been like a week. So I could have the timeline wrong there. Thanks to the resub Big Sip. Last of the show pretty good so far. Well, that's exciting. Thanks, resub bin. Thanks, resub Gucci and Butts. Resub Mittens. Please rewatch the first half of the apology and listen to how explicitly he said he respected the word no, and then immediately went into talking about how he thought the behavior was acceptable about persistence. So that to me, that is him not necessarily respecting the word no. How is anyone still being like confused? All of this was very straightforward in terms of a response. He himself is even talking about his persistence and not picking up on these things. So while they may have been saying no, like, hey, I'm not interested, or giving the cues that they're not interested, he was still being persistent and not respecting it. Like, I don't know what you're even arguing. He himself isn't even arguing that. Him saying that he respected the word no, I'm assuming is referring to, like, when someone blatantly put their foot down and, like, kicked him the fuck out. He didn't, like, kick the door in and go in. But in terms of, like, declining and rejecting advances, he himself admits that his persistence, like, he kept going. What are ways to stop thinking this? What? No, it's just, it's you don't need like a lesson on like rejection. Like getting rejected is a really easy thing to pick up on, even for someone with no social cues at all. And once you get rejected, you should just take that on the chin and like get stronger from it instead of like keep trying to like make it work. There's a tier 1 Bambi and the resub Frosty. And the bits Alligator and Jaguar. I think he meant to say he never forced himself on a woman. Well, I think that's what he's talking about with the no. Like when he was like kicked out, fully like, get out of here, scram, loser, get the fuck out. Like when they finally like are no longer just being nice about it, then he leaves. But until then, when they're just saying like, no, not interested, not really feeling it or whatever, he would still be persistent, which is what he was talking about, where he thought that was normal behavior. I just don't see like a ton of ways to misconstrue this. I feel like he pretty much hit on everything. Salesman Riz. I haven't seen that term tossed around, but yeah, I guess. Thanks for the resub TJC. I don't know why I always like the kind of like blatant wrongness of a statement like this is just so infuriating that I can't just not address the one guy. She sent mixed signals and eventually gave in and said yes. Thus, she consented. In your own statement there, do you not see how fucking weird that is? Eventually, she gave in and said yes, and you're celebrating the consent. Do you not see how fucking creepy that is? Do you not see why that's like not something to celebrate or be like, oh, good, fuck yeah, score? When you in your own statement say that, use the word, your words, gave in and said yes, you don't see why that's weird and bad? Thanks for the 5 gift subs, Bambi. Appreciate the generosity. And the tier 1 Ches and the resub Limno. Man's going in there with like a graph and shit trying to give her a lecture on why she should have sex with him. So I eventually schooled her on why having sex with me is the best thing. So after the 50th time she declined me, I made such a good point with my fuck around and find out graph that she said yes. So got that consent, baby. Let's go. There's some weird ass people in chat. It's only a couple though. It's just, I don't know, a take like that where even in their own statement they very clearly make it obvious that it's weird and wrong by using the word give in and still defend it makes no sense. Like, it's just this lack of self-awareness that actually just makes me upset. I think self-awareness is one of the most important lessons someone can learn. Only a couple. That's a bold statement. I have legitimately been keeping my eye on a couple of the the weird suspects. It's not as many as you think. It's just the same people repeating the same point. It's really not that many, but it's just hard not to get one guide when they very clearly lack this self-reflection.